Hi everyone, this is Steve True Love, Love Life, Love You, and today we're doing part one of a two-part video. Today's going to be about comparisons, why we compare ourselves to other people and the negative effects that it has on us. The second one is going to be about acceptance, because once we move past realizing why or what's happening to us when we're comparing ourselves to other people, then we start to accept things about ourselves the way we are and the way we're not. That's what we're going to talk about in the next one. So comparisons. How many people out there listening to this compare themselves to other people? Now this can be many areas of your life. It could be the way you look, your own looks, facial looks, body image. It could be financial. You know, somebody's got a better car than you. It can spread into any areas of your life. We start to compare what other people have and what we haven't. So how many people have done that? I've been guilty of that myself. I've compared myself to other people who've maybe got more success than myself. Maybe I've got a better body image than myself. And then when I start to compare, I'm sort of putting myself down a little bit. And that has an effect on me, you know, my emotional being, the way I feel about life and myself. So it's about learning to accept yourself the way you are and the way you're not. So we'll talk a little bit more about acceptance in the next video. So what do we do when we're comparing ourselves to people? Why do we do it? Why do we do it? Well, generally, from my experience of my own journey through life and working with people, it's a story we may have told ourselves at one time that we're not good enough, or we're not worthy enough, or we're not lovable enough, and we're back to all this, you know, not being a certain way again. So how do we get past these stories? Well, very often people will get into a thought pattern. You know, they'll run a pattern that's been a part of them for a long, long time. Generally, a lot of these things happen in our childhood. And we don't realize that we're running these patterns because sometimes they're in the background out of awareness. But we'll get certain feelings that have attached themselves into these thought patterns. So if you become a little bit aware, you can start to realize what your thought pattern is. And then you can just say to yourself, stop. Stop. Simple as that. And you'll find that thought pattern will stop for that moment. You'll have a little gap. While you've got that little gap, you can push it away. I'm finished with that. Or that's finished with. Whichever way you want to push it, that's finished with. And then you can say your national insurance number backwards. Telephone number. Your date of birth. Just say it backwards. This is the point a lot of people say, I don't even know it forwards. But, you know, think about your number and say it backwards. And then think about times when you feel good enough about yourself, when you're not comparing yourself to anybody else. You run this a number of times. Every time you catch yourself going into this pattern, stop. I'm finished with that. Say your number backwards, national insurance number, date of birth, phone number, and then immediately start thinking about times. Just think about them. You may have an image, you might have a sense of it, you might have a feeling about it, but times when you are good enough, when you do feel worthwhile, when you are lovable, and it will be many times, because what we're doing is changing people's mindset. Remember what we've spoken about before in other videos, that people get into a pattern of thoughts, and when you learn how to shift that mindset, you're changing neural pathways. When you start changing neural pathways, they've been ingrained habitually through overthinking thought patterns over and over and over and over and creating the behaviors. You're now starting to change the way you're thinking about things. So instead of comparing yourself to someone else, it's very, very damaging. Start thinking about yourself and what you can do to make life better for yourself, and not compare yourself to somebody else's life. You're a unique individual. You're a very special person. When you start to believe in yourself, you can start to achieve things that once were impossible. So give up comparisons. And every time you catch yourself starting to think about somebody else's life and how something in their life is better than yours, remember the word stop. Bring yourself back, because you're just beating yourself up. You're creating negative emotions in yourself every time you compare yourself to somebody else. Stop comparing and start living. I hope this has been of some use and some information to yourselves. So watch part 2 when we talk about acceptance in the next video. Bye for now.